Hello, Dublin.
Hi, everyone. Great to be here back again at SaaStock. Thanks for having us. And today is a real honor to be here with my friend and business partner, Mikita. I cannot think of anyone more grounded and down to earth to share his insights about what it takes to build a $100 million ARR business. So Mikita, welcome. It's great to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you. Excited to be here.
So Mikita, maybe before double-clicking on your founder story, it would be great if you could introduce PandaDoc to the audience, what you guys do and what problems you're solving for your customers.
Sure. PandaDoc helps hundreds of thousands of people to streamline their work with contracts, quotes, proposals, sign on those documents, get them electronically notarized, store, manage, you name it.
Great. I mean, Mikita, I think you founded PandaDoc over 10 years ago. Can you please take us back to that time and what led you to found PandaDoc with Sergey, your co-founder? What's your story?
It started way back. At the time, we didn't know what software as a service is. There were no term. We had no idea. We just wanted to build a product that solves an internal pain where people can swipe their credit card and just use it. That's all we wanted to do. We didn't think about things like raising money or getting to any kind of ARR number. We just wanted to really pay our salaries and our team's salaries and be a good business. That's it.
Great. I mean, if you look back and take us back to the initial stages of your scaling journey, what did it take to initially find product market fit and gain traction among SMB customers to reach that first $1 million of annual recurring revenues?
First million was really hard, and what it took us is probably thousands, if not dozens of thousands of different iterations, different experiments, different attempts, different tries. Probably 99.99% of that were failed experiments, failed attempts, failed tries. But then through trying, you get to learn something. Then through that something, you get to learn something else and something else and something else. And then slowly, you get your first $1,000 and then your second $1,000. Then you read what MRR is. And then you get another one and another one and another one. And then step by step, slowly, those key metrics started to grow.
Got it. I mean, you fast forward to today and you're a $100 million ARR business. I mean, that's really impressive and something you should be proud of. I think it's incredibly hard to scale an SMB, software business because, customers are very demanding. They expect a super slick product, a consumer-grade user experience, and they're not necessarily willing or I would say unable to pay high contract values because of the size of those customers. So it's extremely important to acquire those customers in a cost-effective way. And if you think about your scaling journey, what steps have you taken to build a scalable and repeatable go-to-market engine?
At first, and that story goes way back, we thought we're going to build it and they're going to come. And they're going to love it, and they're going to pay us. None of that happened. We built it. We built a free product. We thought this free product is going to be good enough to later, once we have time and resources to monetize. We'll have time and resources to build billing, attach some subscription management system, and all of a sudden, all those free folks are going to swipe their credit card. We were working really hard for way over a year. We spent all of our savings to build this free product and get that product to about 3,000 active users. Then we attached billing. At the time, we spent all of our savings, pretty much everything. And guess how many out of 3,000 became paying? Any guesses? 6. 6. At a price tag of anywhere from $8 to $19 per month. That was a bummer, right? Like, you spend everything, all of your savings, everything. You get this thing built. Among two of us, two founders, we spent countless hours arguing on the color of the buttons or where that tab is going to go and that tab is going to go. And then you do all this meaningless work, which you realize later, to find out that actually you don't really have a product market fit. And you built it, they came, they don't really like it, and sure, they're not ready to pay for it. So that was one channel, freemium, that sort of kind of, well, it didn't work. Monetary speaking, it didn't work. But then that was a very important, humbling experience that helped us to realize that we don't know better. We have to learn within the market from customers, and we have to try to learn what is that our clients need versus what is that the problem that we had that we need to solve and turn into profit. In parallel to that, as we were building this freemium product, I was also trying to spread the word as much as I can. If there is a website with a text area and a button submit, like post a comment, I was just talking nonstop about the product. However, what's also important to note is that we were building the product. We weren't necessarily early to the market. At the time, there were already companies like DocuSign and Adobe, at the time called EchoSign, that were doing something similar, that already had products in market, that raised numerous rounds of financing. However, we were still in a very, very, very early days of a massively growing market. SaaS exploded in the last 10, 15 years, and we were fortunate to surf that wave.
Cool. I mean, how do you think throughout that scaling journey about the timing for, scaling and investing in your team? Are there any metrics you look at to help you with that decision making?
Yeah, there's a myriad of different metrics as I think about the business. But I think at the end of the day, for an SMB SaaS product, what matters is that your product becomes your core marketing tool and your core sales tool. Therefore, things like Net Promoter Score, you can't really tie NPS to your growth, or not necessarily can tie it to net dollar retention. However, I think that's a hugely important thing to look at in order to be able to predict whether you have something like really good. And then when you have something really good in a fast-growing market, good things are bound to happen. Good things are bound to happen.
What about scaling products? I mean, how do you think about, how do you avoid getting pulled into different directions, and how do you balance customer feedback with your own vision for the product when it comes to innovation and determining product strategy and your product roadmap?
I wish there was a framework to do that, but feeling, really, through a feeling. Like I don't think there's a formula on how to focus. I don't think there's a formula on how to change your approach, like at a specific stage of the business. Looking back, in early days, what we were doing, like what I think helped us to get from, let's say, 0 to $1 million in annual recurring revenue was listening to customers, figuring out what's that pain point, how can we solve it in an elegant way so that the product looks good and is easy enough for our users to figure out on their own. So I think in the early days, it was a lot about like finding that product market fit, finding an area of demand in the market, finding a pain point that we can address. Then from 1 to probably 10, it was a lot about figuring out different stages of the buyer journey, figuring out different parts of the solution that can be packaged and maybe cross-sold or expanded into, and so on and so forth. And so 1 to 10 was a lot about not sort of discovering the product itself, but about figuring out what parts of the product are going to solve what kind of pains and what kind of like buckets of demand, and then how do we optimize each stage of the customer journey for, say, things like word of mouth, or things like expansion, or things like retention, and so on and so forth. And then I think 10 to 100 was hugely about optimizing what we're doing and closing the gaps, finding sort of like the potholes and filling those potholes up, closing the gaps, improving here, improving there, adding like really smart people on the team that can tell us that we don't know what we're doing, and then trying to do things differently.
Yeah, especially in these SMB markets, the need to refine, constantly optimize that funnel is extremely important. One of the things we often talk about is, how we can deliver more value to our customers and how we can also capture more value out of those customers, right? Like, how do you, from a product perspective, think about continuously innovating and to balance the investments into, your core product and potential, new products?
A few years ago, we adopted this framework called Zone to Win, where we segment our business and our resources into 3 major buckets. The bucket number 1 is sort of our core business. They call it performance productivity zone. That's where we try to be more efficient with what we already have. We try to optimize product for speed, usability, improve its defensibility, and that's where we sort of like trying to do better what we are already good at. Then there's this transformation zone and a little bucket for innovation. And within this little bucket that's dedicated for innovation, we try to go for moonshots, we try to go for net new products. Let's say a new wave of technological progress comes, like LLMs, and we try to do something there. And if some of those kind of skunk work projects work out, then we take them into the transformation zone, where we try to scale them up so that a year, 2 years out, they can become a part of the core business. So far, it worked pretty well for us. I highly recommend it for scale-ups. It's called Zone to Win. There's a book on it. Check it out.
Great. I mean, switching gears, how has your role as a founder evolved as PandaDoc has grown from a startup to a more mature business?
It changed a lot. I don't know if that would be evolution. I hope so. But it changed a lot. 0 to 1, I've done a lot of things. I had the doer hat. I had to do everything and anything, from janitorial tasks at the office to posting about the software on like variety of forums or LinkedIn groups, so you name it. And then from 1 to 10, it transformed into more of the abstract work, where my job became more to find people, hire people, think of like abstract models in order to let's say streamline our customer journey, or map out the customer journey, or hire folks that would be responsible for different parts of the customer journey, or structure, segment teams this and that way, and so on and so forth. So there's like a lot of this abstract structural work. And then from 10 to 100, it transitioned more into defining themes and figuring out patterns, maybe suggesting patterns at times, but mostly setting up themes, high-level themes, and then messaging, reiterating those themes over and over and over and over again. That's when we solidified things like, what's our mission, what's our vision, what are our values, what's our culture code, what should be the strategy for the year, and this job is very different from the 0 to 1 kind of job. And for me, that transition was extremely painful. I said was extremely painful. It has been extremely painful, because I still have this urge to do something whenever I see that something doesn't work, like I want to do it. However, now that in most cases makes more harm than good, because whenever I try to do something, I mess up someone's work, right? Like, PandaDoc team is big. We employ a lot of really, really bright people that can do their jobs way better than a guy who thinks he can do something, you know? So that transition has been quite painful, because it's not been long enough, right? Like, to sort of like pull the trigger and switch and change. So yeah, so now it's a lot about figuring out, okay, what's the direction? How do we articulate that direction so that hundreds of people can come up with their own ideas, and then their own projects and their own ways to move in that direction.
Got it. I mean, talking about hiring and building out the teams, what's the VP level or C level hire that you made that changed your life most and improved your life most?
Well, if I was to go way back, the first person I've got incredibly lucky with is my co-founder. I was fortunate to, my co-founder and I met in a band. He was drums, I was bass. We became friends. And a few years later, as I was thinking about who do I want to try to partner up with and start a company with, he was by far the smartest guy I knew, and the most successful engineer at the time. We're very, very different in variety of different qualities, ways. We're similar in some, but very different in many, and that helps to create like somewhat of a balance. To date, I wouldn't be able to scale PandaDoc to this size, hands down, if not for my co-founder. So he is the first person that I personally got really, really lucky with, I think professionally. Then the second key hire that we made was probably our first chief revenue officer, who helped us scale the company from about 8 million to, I want to say, 50. He had a certain playbook, and that playbook totally worked from like 8 to 50, probably worked from like 8 to 40. he segmented the customer journey, he hired the right people to own each one of those segments, he optimized those segments, and it worked beautifully until it stopped working. And that playbook, unfortunately, had to be changed, and we had to hire another person with a different playbook, like with a different worldview, different kind of thinking process. And yeah, I would say like the third person who I was fortunate to hire is probably our third CRO. But you know what? Like now that I'm talking about it, I'm thinking, shoot, I'm making a disservice to all the other people who we were fortunate to partner with. There's been many. My co-founder and I were really fortunate with our early team. Team PandaDoc, like 0 to 1, was awesome. And if I was to go back, I'd probably rehire the greater half of all of the folks we had on the team. And then further down the line, like we were very lucky to bring on a lot of the folks we worked with.
You certainly have done a great job in terms of building out that, a second layer of management and augment and complement your leadership team. Okay, I mean, every business, faces challenges and setbacks at some point. What is the biggest challenge that you have had to overcome, as a founder, and how did you rebound from it?
Yeah, in 2020, there was a revolution in Belarus. My co-founder and I publicly supported the democratic side of it, which unfortunately lost. We had a raid to our offices in Minsk. Our business was shut down for over 2 months. People were taken hostage. It was horrible. But through that, out of 200-something people who we had there, only one person quit. And this was an excruciating time. We, as a result of it, we exited the country, left. The team moved. Most of the folks who moved to Ukraine, where we scaled another office to then, in about 2 years, face another massive challenge, which was the war, which required us to move again. Not entirely move. We still operate in Ukraine. We're still hiring in Ukraine. But the company had to turn into a part-time immigration agency in order to get people into safety. So that's been really hard. In retrospective, I'm sure for many of you, and same for us, 2023, 2024, weren't the easiest years to operate, right? The capital is way more expensive. Customers do not necessarily buy as easily as they were back in the years when the interest rates were low and the capital was readily available. However, I think 2020 and 2022 were the toughest years for us. And despite those challenges, we were able to persevere and survive. And
for everyone's benefit, PandaDoc had more than what was it, 200 engineers, in Belarus at the time.
We had over 300 people between Belarus, Ukraine, and Russia, with majority of them being in Ukraine prior to the war. And when the war broke out, most of those folks, those who were able to leave Ukraine, left, but most of those folks relocated to Poland and Portugal.
Yeah, so this happened shortly after us investing, and I have to say that it was really amazing to see how the entire company rallied, towards, a single goal is trying to minimize business disruption and relocating, relevant employees. And you guys have done an amazing job at that. And that brings me to my next question around culture. I mean, how do you maintain culture as and when you scale?
How? However we can. However we can. If I was to go back and describe just highlight the attempts that we've made around defining culture and keeping culture intact. In the normal days, I think it was very, very different from the times of crisis, but in the normal days, I think it was 2017, maybe it was 2016, 2017, when my co-founder and I realized that we don't know what we're doing. We were getting so many complaints from within that our culture is no good and we have to make changes and things aren't going well. And it felt like things aren't going well. The business was bleeding cash and we weren't quite happy. That was the time when we got together. We decided to put in writing how do we aspire to work, what do we aspire the culture to be, and let's just put in writing. And then let's share with our oldest teammates, with folks with the most tenure, and get their feedback on what they think about it. So we did that. They called a lot of bullshit. They brought up a lot of stories where I didn't follow whatever I aspired to. And but that helped to sort of create this blueprint of where we want to be and like kind of who we want to be. And of course, like, look, I'm a human being. I'm very far from my aspirations. However, when you write it down, like you at least have something to sort of work towards, to strive towards, and something that can be used by your teammates to call you out on, right? So we put this thing together. We called it Culture Code, and we try to optimize we try to turn our recruiting process into something that is partially based on the Culture Code, right? Some of the questions, some of the stages of the recruiting process were based on that Culture Code. Then the same happened with the promotions, and today that document is used to inform a lot of our decisions.
And it's certainly impressive how everyone lives, breathes, and your values. I mean, maybe conscious of time here, and looking forward, what is the next big milestones for PandaDoc, and what are you most excited about for the next couple of years?
I can give you a cliche answer. Well,
30 seconds.
AI is blah, 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 da, 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 and then there's a lot of application for AI in PandaDoc, that's true. And we're definitely putting a lot of resources into it. But what I'm also very excited about is just the scale. PandaDoc at this point touches hundreds of thousands of people. And every little optimization, every little improvement actually impacts a lot of people. Now the feedback that we can get from from our customer base can come and aggregate, and we can act on that feedback, again, touching a lot of people. So I really enjoy that. I'm really excited about, and like more than ever, I'm excited about making our product experience delightful, so that our product becomes even a better marketing engine, even a better sales tool. That's what I'm really passionate about.
I'm looking forward to the next leg of our growth journey, Mikita. Always great chatting with you. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.